It's good and bad. It's bad because I wish more people were here, but it's good because you guys would get a lot of individualized attention. So I'll just introduce myself a little bit again. I know you guys probably read the stuff and saw the announcements and that sort of thing. Allison Maurer, I'm the Director of Sports Nutrition and Fueling for the Pittsburg Pirates. Started my career at the University of Colorado in Boulder, where I was an assistant strength and conditioning coach and the dietitian from 04 to 07, and then got the job here at Tennessee. So that was 07 to 2016. So I got to see the gamut of multiple coaches, athletic directors, strength coaches, you name it. And so, what's that?
In and out system.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, I was able to build that program and grow it. And then once I left there, came here, taught PE, and worked with middle school football. And then got a call from the Pittsburg Pirates to see if I was interested in working with them, and I wasn't. And so I let them know that. And it's funny, my boss and I joke about this. There's a lot of good Christian men that run that organization, and I just absolutely adore all of them. And so the joke is always, because I just didn't know if I ever wanted to get into nutrition again. I was kind of done. And so the joke, it always is, he's like, yeah, I wasn't sure I wanted a female in this role. I just, baseball's still really old school. I just wasn't sure how you would fit or how a female would fit. And I get it. I totally get it, because there's no bathrooms for us. There's just, just silly stuff like that. I'm like, that's perfect, because I didn't really want your job. Like, I was pretty convinced that I was not even going to come interview. And so we laugh about that now, because we're like, 2 years later, I'm like, now look at us. I couldn't imagine being in a different organization. And so it's pretty fun. But yeah, and then still kind of trying to keep my feet in the door here. Robin went, remember when I texted you and I was like, I can't stay away from this place. I was like, I saw Coach Johnson doing workouts, the off-season workouts with baseball, and I was like, oh, can I do that? Do you mind if I do that? So that's what I started doing in the fall. And I teach at Knoxville Catholic High School in the fall as well. I teach a sports nutrition class there. So that's been a lot of fun to take my high school curriculum, transfer that over to baseball, and really get to do a bunch of stuff. So with that, I do have a few things in particular that I'll talk about, but I want to hear what sports, what athletes I'm kind of focusing on tonight, and even some goals. Like, what are some of the things you guys are wanting to hear this evening? So why don't we start here? Your name? Yeah.
Harry.
Okay.
My son plays basketball.
Okay.
Middle school.
Awesome.
And he's one of the more vertically challenged kids on
Got
the
it.
team. So any sorts of natural HGH you can pass our way.
Gotcha.
I'll take it.
Gotcha. For sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then William, obviously you're soccer.
24/7, 365 days a year.
What are your goals? Do you have any goals, like specific food goals, weight goals, anything like that?
I mean, I have been wanting to bulk up in the past.
Okay.
However, this thing will not let me. So, because I start working out a lot and I get into a good rhythm, and then I basically ruin my ankle again and again and again. And
So
it's
injuries.
It's an endless cycle.
Okay. Interesting.
Highly injury prone.
Okay.
But Mom wants to know, like, pre-game,
Yep.
those things. Like,
Okay.
Like pre and post.
Got it.
I'm Ron. My granddaughter plays middle school basketball.
Okay.
And she's going to be 12 next week. So she's just in the 6th grade. And she has been swimming. And then this summer she says, well, I think I might play basketball. And I'm like, well, she's played upward several times. And I said, well, if you're going to play basketball, you need to practice. Well, that. So it's been a good learning experience for her, and she said she's going to play next year, so we're going to try to get her into some more practices or camps or something.
Good.
She's got a ways to go, but she likes it. And
Awesome.
She got a lot of energy.
she's got lots of energy, so I want to wear it off with her.
That's awesome.
We wanted to get information so we can give the parents, because she's starting to get a little pooch.
Okay.
She's heavily into carbs.
Yes, as all females are. We all are guilty, I think, of that.
Wow.
We much love those. Got it. Perfect. Robin, you wanna give your
Sure. Robin, basketball and volleyball. For me, so one for Bryce would be, what's the most effective way to keep him at a more level weight during the season?
Got it.
Because he tends to drop.
Okay.
Because he's so active.
Yep.
And then on the other hand, for Bren, so you were at a volleyball tournament all day long.
Okay.
What are the good options there when your games are, 9, 10, and 1, or
Mhm.
and not just that. The good things to have, but like that's portable and easy because
Right.
they won't let you bring in a cooler,
Oh, okay.
So
Got it.
just some of
Okay.
those options.
I'm Trevor Gaston. I'm part of the middle school football team and my dance soccer team. My goal for this year is to get bigger.
Okay. Good. Awesome.
I'm Susan, and my kids all play soccer, and you already know Jalen.
Yes.
And so she just wants to do everything right.
Got it.
But I think I know how to pregame, get them ready, and postgame recover them, but I'd love to actually know.
For sure.
And to share with your teams as well,
Yeah.
because I really get tired of seeing kids walking around with ice cream cones in between games.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I get it. Kim, did you have something?
I did. Just for me as a mom, teaching him to have good, healthy, nutritious practices
Yeah.
for a lifelong, like
Yes.
making that a habit,
Yep.
but while fueling him as an athlete.
Yep.
And doing things that he can make himself.
Yes.
Because mom is not always gonna.
No, that's really, yeah, for sure.
Gotta learn how to do it themselves.
That's so true. So, which is a perfect kind of segue into just my philosophy. I'm very much a food first philosophy. Just because, yes, there's a place for supplements, but I think we overlook food all the time. And that's the first question if I get a parent of a high school football player. This is always, what supplement should my kid take? And my first question back is, what did he eat for breakfast? And so one of my things too, besides food first, is getting your athlete and your kids just in general to change the mindset of healthy eating to fueling. Like, I don't care if you have to take a test. I don't care if you just have to wake up earlier the next day, or if you have like the biggest competition of your career, you need to fuel for that. And a lot of times because when we think healthy eating, we think, oh my gosh, my mom's on a diet again. Just, that's what a lot of kids will think, for sure. And so that connotation of, that means I gotta eat like grilled chicken and salad for the rest of my life. And I want them to not think that, but think I need to fuel for whatever my day looks like. And that's even for adults. Like, what does your day look like? Are you fueling for what you have to do to get through the day? Or are you just cleaning your kid's plate because you didn't have time to sit down and, and really plan things out? And so that's one of the things I just really want to hit hard on is how well are you and your family fueling on a day-to-day basis? And so with just the general fueling habits, one of the things I get from parents is, oh, my kid eats all the time. They just don't stop. And I say, well, but you didn't see them for 12 hours. You saw them when they left for school, and then you see them when they get home at 7 o'clock at night, and you don't know if they ate in those 12 hours. They'll tell you they did, but did they really? And so, we want to believe, yes, they did. And I'm sure they probably ate some pizza or did something like that. But a lot of times what happens with teenagers, athlete, non-athlete, I remember my pregame meal as a high school basketball player was Twizzlers and a Coke. Like, that's just because I had like $3 and I'm like, yeah, vending machine. So, that's still to this day what's happening. And so they're not necessarily really fueling and even just eating in general until they get home. So when you see them and they're chowing down constantly, it's not because they're just growing and they're hungry. It's probably because they have this 6 to 8 to 10 hour deficit of not really fueling that well. So those are and I remember, just when I was at UT and even some of the kids at Catholic high school, I'd be like, so what do you do with your lunch money? They're like, well, I don't tell my parents, but I'm saving up for this really cute sweater or whatever that, and so they might get home and tell you, yeah, I ate lunch, but really they're saving up for something else. So, it's just one of those things that's just how kids are. And I get it because, we were probably all like that a little bit in some way. But just so with that, some of the stuff that I have here, I just have a few different handouts. One of the things was snacking. So snacking is super important. Yeah, I'm a 3 meals and then snacks depending on what you need. Because nobody lives in a perfect 3 meals, 3 snacks world, right? We just don't. And so if you're someone who you get home at 8 o'clock at night and that's when your family has dinner, you're probably not going to have a snack after that. But you might need lunch, snack, and then dinner. So kind of think outside of that box a little bit, that it has to be breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack, because that's not the world that any of us really live in. So think, when you're planning ahead, think along those lines. And then the second thing is make sure that there's a protein and a carbohydrate source. Not because you have to have more protein necessarily, but because you want it to be hearty enough and filling enough to where it's going to hold them over for that next meal. One of the things I tell people is if you're starving at your next meal, that just means you missed an opportunity earlier in the day to fuel. And so if you're really, and then what happens when we're that hungry? We don't make good choices. We're choosing like the high fat, high sugar, whatever we can eat as fast as we can. I'm gonna have 6 Oreo cookies before dinner's even ready. And so those things happen. And so if you get to a meal and you're absolutely starving, you missed an opportunity to fuel yourself earlier in the day. So I just have some different snack ideas here. And you can come up with your own. I love the apples and peanut butter thing has always been, a favorite for any of my athletes. I introduced our Latin players who don't eat peanut butter to apples and peanut butter in our Dominican facility. And you would have thought like I discovered a new planet because they had never had apples and peanut butter before. And it is like super easy. And if you put orange juice or some sort of acid on the apples, it keeps them from going brown. So if you buy the pre-cut apples in the grocery store, they're not brown because they've put some sort of acid on it to keep them from browning. And so what we used to do at Tennessee, we'd get a big old bowl, we just slice up tons of apples, squeeze orange juice in there, and just bag them, individual bags, and stick them in the fridge. So throughout the day, the athletes would just come in, can I have apples and peanut butter? Jif to go peanut butters, perfect snack. That's one of the things I take on airplanes when I have to do plane trips. That's what I always take because I know I can get the peanut butter through security. And I don't want to have a heavy carb like a pretzel or bloated type carb. I want something with fiber. I want something that's going to be filling. And so that's perfect. And then trail mixes as well. And I would recommend making your own. If you do a dark chocolate, dried cherries, and then almonds, you're going to get your heart healthy fats from the almonds, which can help get rid of inflammation. Cherries and the dark chocolate will also help get rid of inflammation, which is good for injuries, for healing, that sort of thing. Cherries help with sleep. So for the kids who need to grow taller, we'll talk about sleep in a little bit, how important that is for actual growth. That's a perfect trail mix. Again, mix it all in a bowl, 1/2 cup serving, Ziploc bags, stick it in the pantry. There you go. It's, and nothing wrong with the M&M, raisin, that sort of mix. That's totally fine too. But, if you want to just take it up a notch and just make it more nutrient dense, you can do something like that. The Greek yogurts, love those. You can mix fruit in it, granola, that sort of thing. String cheese with crackers or the cheese cubes. They have those little, Kroger has just the Kroger brand with the dried fruit, the cashews or the almonds, and then the little cheese cubes. Those are perfect. And again, one thing too to think of when it's a snack, and my kids are guilty of this too, they think the snack is supposed to fill them up. And it's not. A snack is meant to hold you over to the next meal. Not to fill you up so that you don't feel hunger anymore. And so, if you have a child that's trying to gain weight, yeah, your snack, say for example, your snack might be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a banana, and a glass of chocolate milk. That's someone else's lunch. But your snack is not the same snack as what, say a wrestler, for example, who's trying to cut weight. Just not the same. And so you have to kind of think that way too. Or you're trying to, for Bryce, for example, he's trying to keep weight on during the season. His snack might be a meat and cheese sandwich, a Greek yogurt, a bag of pretzels, and something else. That's his post, whatever snack. And then dinner comes in another hour and a half, and he'll probably be still hungry for it. So you really just have to kind of think outside of the box for, what is a snack. You just really have to take a look at what that is for your specific goals. And even for you guys too, Chef, you're trying to grow and get big. Your snack, you might be like, you know what? This is fine, but I just really feel like I need more than this. So you might be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a glass of milk guy. I don't know. And that's one thing too, like you guys are in a really unique position where you get to use your body as a science project right now. You get to practice your nutrition like you practice your sport. And so it's a really fun place to be, but sometimes it's not, because if you do nutrition wrong, you might end up throwing up. But that's okay, because we're practicing it, right? We're learning it. And so, but just keep that in mind. So if you're like, I think I feel okay, but I just feel like I need a little more. I think I'm still going to be hungry for dinner. I'm really going to want that, but I really just need to fuel a little bit more right now. And then with that too, hydration is a huge part of injury prevention and just general fueling. If you're not hydrated well, have you guys ever had any, and also your kids, whatever, had any issues with hydration? Soccer, I'm sure, cramping, that sort of thing. Yeah. So that is just in general with hydration, at least 1/2 of your body weight in ounces of water a day. So if you weigh, just as an example, if you weigh 200 pounds, it's 100 ounces of water. It's a lot, but it's also not someone Shep size. You don't need to be drinking like a gallon a day, you know, and because some people go way over the top and, you know, they're 100 pounds and they're carrying this gallon jug thinking that's the ideal, and then they're so full that they're not eating food because they're so waterlogged. So again, you really have to kind of balance that out and figure out what that looks like for you, but half your body weight in ounces of water a day. I'm a sports drink fan for before, during, and after practices and workouts, especially in the heat. I'm not a sports drink fan for sitting in front of the computer, in front of the TV, or just sitting in school. That's when I call it sugar with a purpose. It has a purpose, and that's for sporting events. That's why Gatorade invented it, for that specific purpose. So that's just always been one of my kind of personal philosophies. So, you know, it drives me nuts when I see these little 5-year-old kids that don't really sweat, and, you know, they're drinking 20-ounce Gatorades, and it's 55 degrees in the fall. Like, what are we doing? It's probably not necessary. But if you know you're a super heavy sweater, and parents, you get your kids' clothes and there's all these white marks, that's the salt that they lose. And I'm sure you all knew that, but, you know, any of those white lines, that's all salt. So if they're a cramper and you notice that in their clothes, make sure that they're hydrating just as much as they possibly can. And anybody crampers? Anybody got kids that cramp? You do sometimes? Have you tried the right stuff, the little packets? I'll bring some. It's a super high dose of electrolytes, and you could span it out across like a day of drinking it. Like, say it's game day and you're sipping on that, you mix it with water. It's just water in a little packet. It's 1,700 milligrams of sodium. It's a lot. Yeah. We used to have, I mean, even with baseball, we have guys that'll take 2 or 3 of them in a day. Yeah. But with football, I mean, we'd have linemen that would lose 13 pounds in a practice, so they would take in 3 or 4, sometimes more than that, of those. Yeah. So I know it's like crazy, but yeah. So if you're a cramper, you know, I don't love the whole pickle juice thing. I think that's super old school. I think we've advanced beyond pickle juice. Do you drink it, Chef?
Sometimes.
Do you? It works. Like it works, but I'm like, I think we can. I'll get you some right stuff. We'll do that. But yeah, so keep that in mind with hydration for sure. And if you guys are losing weight and you're trying to gain, if you're weighing yourself every day, a lot of those changes are water weight. Like, you can't legitimately lose 3 or 4 pounds of fat in a day. There's 3,500 calories in 1 pound. So for you to lose 4 pounds in a day, that would mean you'd have to burn 14,000 calories in addition to what you ate. So it's water. And this is something I'm constantly teaching the minor league baseball players too. You didn't lose 5 pounds of muscle. It's water. So, and if you do, for soccer, do you guys do a pre and post weigh-in or anything like that during the summer? No? If you ever do, like 16 ounces of water for every 1 pound lost. So, kind of an easy general rule of thumb. How many of you or your kids or whatever struggle with the breakfast thing, eating breakfast?
Never happens.
Never happens. So here's an interesting fact, parents. So just from a natural circadian rhythm with kids, circadian rhythm being their natural 24-hour clock, they're just more set to go to bed later and wake up later. So it's funny because I think there was a school in Chicago that actually started school an hour later to see if that would, and went an hour longer to see if that would change like grades and attendance and that sort of thing, and it did. Grades went up, attendance got better, less kids missing school, just because kids' natural clock is just later. So it stinks because that's your natural rhythm, but we don't have a choice because we have to get up early and get going. So what does that look like for you? But just FYI, you know, if you get irritated with your kids because they're not tired yet, that's probably why. But biggest thing is if you're one of those people or your kids are one of those kids that eat so much late at night, if they wake up in the morning, they're probably still full a little bit from what they ate the night before. So they're just not naturally going to be hungry. So it's one of those things where you might have to practice going to bed a little bit hungry a couple times so that your body in the morning is like, wait a minute, I'm kind of hungry here. And it really is something that you have to practice and start getting used to. So I'd much rather sleep until the very second that I have to get out the door. Totally get it. As you should, because your natural body clock wants to wake you up at 9 and not 6 or 7. And so get that extra, 5 minutes, 30 seconds of sleep that you need, but have a plan. So if that never happens for you, I would not say, start waking up at 5 o'clock and make a 3-egg omelet and there's just no way. I would say, can you get a frozen breakfast sandwich and throw it in the microwave and then try that on your way out the door? See if that works. And a lot of kids will literally gag, and it's really just hard to get used to because you're just not used to it. But what time do you guys have break in the morning? Are you hungry by that time? Yeah, so if that's something too, if you know there's a break, then maybe you just have like a banana and a glass of orange juice or a glass of milk going out the door, and then you're like, you know what, breakfast for me is gonna be break time. So I'm not just gonna grab a Snickers from the cafe, but that's where I'm gonna make sure I packed 2 breakfast sandwiches, and I'm gonna buy a chocolate milk, or I'm gonna get something else from the cafe, and now that's breakfast. Because that's okay to not be perfect in the morning. It's not okay to not be perfect in the morning, not eat anything really for a break, and then eat a slice of pizza for lunch, and then try to go out to practice. That's when it's not okay. So, try some of those things just to see if you can adjust or get your kids to adjust a little bit to getting something in them. And just from an academic standpoint, you want them to get anything in before they leave, just from a grades and staying awake. Like if you're not eating breakfast or your kids aren't eating breakfast right before lunch, I see it all the time when I have class right before lunch. The kids are like this. They're like trying to stay awake in class because they're super hungry, and then they hit that point where the hunger and the tired take over, and they're like, I'm out. So you laugh because you know I'm right. Yeah, exactly. So work on some of those things with your athlete, just trying to see what that plan and that schedule can look like. Other things, especially with you guys who are trying to gain weight or your son who's trying to get bigger, that sort of thing. Pack an emergency snack stash. And that's what I just met with. I had a kid from Apostolic. I met with him and his parents last week. And so I'm like, one thing I never, and this is just because it's my job, so I'm just used to thinking food all the time. I always have an emergency snack stash in my backpack, always, because I know my kids are going to be hungry at some point. So I put granola bars, trail mix, just stuff like that, and I keep it in my backpack, but your kids can keep it in their backpack. Say it's after school, and something came up, and suddenly you have to go do something else, and then, or practice is going to be a lot harder than you thought. You have a stash. You have a backup supply. And so your friends are going to be like, oh, dude, can I have some? Pack your own. My mom bought me groceries. She didn't buy yours. But it really does help, because there's those times where you're like, I just didn't eat enough for lunch. I should have eaten more. Oh, wait, I have 2 granola bars and some trail mix, so I can pick what I want, and that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind as well. How many of your kids do school lunches? Packing? Yes. Love that. Love it.
Also got pasta.
For here?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But no, that's good. I highly suggest the packed lunch for sure. And a lot of times too is, if your kids don't pack their lunch, that's fine. I'll probably be the mom that packs my kids' lunches until they're seniors in high school because I like packing lunches. But pack it with a purpose. Or if you pack your own lunch, pack it with a purpose. Am I putting 1 or 2 pieces of ham on my lame piece of bread and calling that a sandwich? No. You put, if you go or YouTube Fueling Tennessee, there's like 12 videos that I used to do for the Butch Jones show, and there's one about how to make a sandwich, there's one about how to pack a lunch, there's one about like 3 meals to make with a rotisserie chicken. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. One about boosting your immune system, so like 2-minute video clips. And so that can give you an idea too. And I used to tell all the athletes, I didn't care if it was male or female, I'm like, make a sandwich like you want to eat it. Like the ones you see on the commercial, like on the mayonnaise commercial, that's how you make a sandwich. You put like 5 or 6 slices of meat on that thing, and they're like, what? Like, you all are the ones that say you need more protein. Put the meat on the sandwich and make it look like something you want to eat. And so they started doing that, and I mean, it makes a big difference because it's more filling, it's more satisfying, and it's fuel with a purpose. It's not, here's my limp sandwich in my applesauce cup, and that's my lunch. Pack an applesauce cup, a big beefy sandwich, pack some hummus with pretzels and some Greek yogurt, and pack extra. Again, pack more than what you think you're going to have because you don't know if you're going to need it or not. So that's definitely one of the things too. Let's talk a little bit about those all-day events. Soccer kind of can go all day too, right? Whew. Yeah. So here's one of the things. In swimming and diving at Tennessee was probably the team I worked with most on this. And it's super tricky because all the stuff you can take, it's all carbs. And nobody wants to feel so super bloated with carbs all day. And then hydrate on top of that, probably drinking sports drinks, and you just feel like this bloated mush of just sloshing around. And so one of the things that I would always encourage is if you're at a hotel or if you're at home for breakfast, make that the most hearty meal. Make that something that has a really good protein source. That might be the day where you're waking up and eating the omelet and having peanut butter toast and stuff like that, because that might be your best opportunity for a good protein source until dinner when everything's over, which could be 12 to 14 hours later. So that is the first place to start. And you said you can't bring coolers into the...
Not for the places where we have volleyball tournaments.
Oh my goodness.
And they're like crazy strict.
Okay.
So I've been packing one and leave it in the car, and then I go in the car and I put the string cheese in my purse and I
Perfect. That is...
They're gonna start frisking.
Yeah, no doubt. You have too much dairy in your person, on your person.
I put a pound of strawberries in my purse.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. So,
String cheese.
no.
And a sticky bag under my arm, and I'm a little
Yeah. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. But if you can, I'm sure that obviously for soccer, I'm sure you can carry coolers in, right? Yeah. So any of your, and again, everything has to be with a purpose. So when your athlete is ready to eat, how hungry are they? How much time do they have? How full do they want to feel? Because those are things they have to think of, because they can't just be like, oh, the goldfish look good. No. Do you have 2 hours? Or do you have 45 minutes? If you have 2 hours, we're going to fuel up right now. We're going to have a yogurt and a banana and a ham and cheese, half of a ham and cheese sandwich. If you have 45 minutes, have your goldfish. So kind of keep that in mind with those all-day events, because it can be the mindless goldfish and then pretzels and then granola bar and then a Gatorade and then chip, and it's just the constant all day. So and then you never want to feel so full that you might taste it twice, meaning you're going to throw up. But you want to feel good enough to feel like you fueled well. And that's what I would always tell the swimmers as well. Stop at a point where you think, I probably could eat more, but I really shouldn't, because because I don't want to feel this way. And that's where, again, you guys come in and your parents can't tell you what that looks like. You have to know what that looks like. So, and it's hard because athletes eat fast and they don't think about it. They just put it in, and that's just how they are. And especially all day events, or if if you're doing multiple practices or whatever in a day, I mean, that is always, like he said, swimming was the team where I would have to be like, you have to stop and chew and think about it going into your mouth, because they just ate so fast, and you guys just do, because you have to go to class, and you got homework, and you got practice, and you got this, and you got whatever else. So you're like, eating has to be fast too, and we do it as adults as well. I gotta be here, I gotta pick this kid up, I gotta bring this one here, so I'm gonna eat this fast, and it's just part of how we are as a culture. And so that would be my biggest suggestion. And then I would just do what you're doing. If you got that cold stuff outside, absolutely. But yeah, take a look at how much time do I have, how hungry am I, and how do I want to feel going into the next match or the next whatever. Yes?
If there's just a really short time, is there, like, is a glass of milk a good thing or a bad thing? Because it's going to be all your stuff and it's going to go down fast, but is it just going to be a hamper?
That's going to be individual, however they can tolerate it. I can eat a bowl of cereal and go on a 6-mile run and I'm rolling. But a lot of people, but if I did that in the heat, I don't think I could. You know what I mean? But that's because I know how I'm going to respond to pretty much everything I put in my mouth. And so, like William, you're like, heck no.
I would be barking down.
Yeah. So at Catholic High School, so Jake Renfrey is like one of the top runners in the nation, cross country, and he eats like Otis Spunkmeyer blueberry muffins and goes and does a race. And that's just, he's okay with that, and that's fine for him. And I'm like, don't change it then, because if that's how your digestive system works, then you do that. But that's not, I would not be able to do that before a race, because that's when the anxiety starts kicking in. And that too, with your athletes, like, that's also something that has to come into play. How anxious are they? Do they lose their appetite when they're anxious? If they do, is a liquid something better? Or, I mean, you guys are very complicated. So it takes a lot to figure out what really works. And that's why you can do all the lifting in the world, you can do all the conditioning in the world, but the food part is super complex for sure. But yeah, so hopefully that helps a little bit for those all-day events. Try to make sure that they're getting some of these protein sources with their carbs for those snacks. I would say if it's an hour or more that they have of a break and they know their system can tolerate it, shoot for some of those protein sources, a half ham and cheese sandwich, or the apples with peanut butter and that sort of thing. Or if they can do a yogurt with some strawberries or something like that. If they know, they're like, Mom, I'm going to not function well if I eat this an hour before, then you have to go with it, because they're going to know better than you are. But you also are going to know whether they're just being difficult or whether they're being honest. So that's then where you guys come into play for sure. Let's see. So another one of the handouts I have is just nutrition on the road. I know a lot of times we're in a rush and there's just not a lot of time to do things. I made this actually for our minor league players. So some of the stuff might not apply, but just some different fast food options. If it's, I don't love fast food, but you can always get something that's a better fuel source than, French fries and Big Mac for sure. They'll always have something as an alternative. So there's just some different things there. What can I get at the gas station? A lot of gas stations now are packing a lot of, fruit and cheese cups and sandwiches and stuff like that. So there are better options than there used to be in the past. You don't have to go get a rolling hot dog and, whatever else they have there, and the nachos or that kind of stuff. And then the last one, so talked about stuff that kids can do. Love this. So dinner ideas, easy, fast dinner ideas. And these, again, if you're someone who's trying to gain weight, this might be a snack for you. For some of the other kids, it might be just a dinner. But the rotisserie chicken, like I said, it's super easy. If you guys buy a rotisserie chicken, you have that and you take the meat off and that stays in the fridge for 3 or 4 days. Kids can come home, wrap it in a tortilla, throw some cheese on it, throw it in the microwave. You got dinner. You can put it in a salad, throw some dressing on it, you got dinner. You can wrap it, throw some ranch dressing and some lettuce in it. They got a grilled chicken wrap. They can heat up, because I think I did 90-second rice with that, so they can heat up the chicken, do 90-second rice, and then a bag of frozen vegetables. They got they made themselves an entree and 2 sides with that. And so that's definitely one of those things. Another thing, the quesadillas. So if you have a panini press or even a George Foreman, just get the big tortillas, put the chicken in it, put the cheese, fold it over, stick it on the George, wait till it gets crispy, and you got a quesadilla. Now you had dinner. And here's one of the things I would always tell the athletes, and I still do, because we do some cooking demos with the baseball players. Make it like you want to eat it. Nothing drives me more crazy than when I go to a restaurant and I get like 3 pieces of chicken on a quesadilla. That was supposed to be a chicken quesadilla. Make it with a purpose so that you can eat it and feel good about it. So if you put 3 or 4 pieces of rotisserie chicken on your quesadilla, you just wasted your time. Make it like, just put the meat on there, stick the cheese on there, make it a meal. Like, make it hearty. And then the tortilla flatbread pizzas, or you can go, they have like smaller flatbreads that you can make personal pizzas. So if you have that at home, we did make your own flatbread pizzas as one of our cooking demos with baseball. And so someone put barbecue sauce, chicken, some vegetables, and then cheese, and then they had a barbecue chicken pizza on a little flatbread. And you can put that in the oven or the toaster oven, and now, again, you made your own dinner. You can do that with pepperoni, with cheese, with just regular marinara. I like to do pesto, I'll put marinara sauce and then pesto sauce and then chicken and tomatoes and cheese. That's my favorite. But again, it takes like 10 minutes. And so if you're at home and you're like, I really need a snack, I am gonna make this as my snack instead of seeing what kind of chips there are in the pantry. The egg tacos, so Robin, you were saying anything you put in a tortilla. Yeah, I mean, make eggs for dinner. If that's like the last, if you have the choice between, all right, we're getting home at 7:30, I don't feel like cooking, I could go through the drive-thru, or I can spend 5 minutes scrambling eggs, scramble the eggs. I mean, and I'll scramble eggs and use them all week. They don't go bad in the fridge. If you think about it, they sell frozen breakfast products. It's frozen eggs. So you can scramble up a bunch, and you can go home and you can make a breakfast sandwich. You know, you have English muffins and warm up the scrambled eggs, throw a slice of cheese, some deli meat, and you got yourself a breakfast sandwich for dinner, if that's worst case scenario. And it saves you a lot of money, so you're not always going through the drive-thru. And if you're at a bad drive-thru where it takes a long time to get through the line, which might have been a better idea anyway. And then just like one of the things that we would always do at UT as well is we do nacho day, but it wasn't nachos like here's my chips and let me dump some queso on it. It was here's the chips, you're piling meat on it, and then you can put cheese and whatever vegetables. But again, we made the nachos with the purpose. Super easy if you just have ground beef or taco meat in the fridge already. Chef, you get home, William, you get home, you're like, I'm really hungry. I'm gonna make myself some nachos, but I'm putting meat and cheese on it and microwaving it. Not just eating plain chips or chips dipping it in the queso that's not really cheese because we're not really sure what it is. That sort of thing. So it's just really taking the things that we used to think is normal for most people and turning it into a really quality fuel source. To just keep you guys are burning fuel all day long, literally. And I mean, girls too, and I think girls always underestimate the amount of work that they're putting in and how chronically underfueled they are. Because a lot of times, and I always talk about this with the girls in my class, and I'll be like, you guys don't want to feel bloated during the day, so you don't eat, and then you don't understand why you're at Starbucks after school and you're getting the pastries and the most sugary drink possible. It's because you didn't eat all day because you just felt really cute in your pants and you didn't want to feel uncomfortable. And it sounds so lame, but that's just how it is a lot of times for girls. And so getting them to understand how important it is for a female to fuel, just from an injury prevention standpoint. I mean, they're going through a lot of changes too. They're growing just as fast. I mean, there's so much, the ACLs, especially with soccer and you know, all that kind of stuff. And so just making sure that they are still fueling enough is super, super important. Same thing, it doesn't have to be just carb-based stuff, but they have to treat themselves like a machine just as much as the boys do. And I think, you know, some of them understand that, and that was one of the things where I noticed with the Lady Ball athletes that changing the word healthy eating, or that terminology, to fueling really changed their desire to eat better and to eat more, because they realized, well, now I have a purpose. My mom's not calling me fat because she said you need to eat healthy food. I need to fuel for what I'm doing. And so it's really, I mean, just the psychology of it for girls is just different anyway, because we just think differently. And so anytime a girl's on social media and they see healthy body or healthy weight loss or healthy whatever, that word healthy, their immediate thought is, I'm fat. It's just how they're wired. And so changing that mindset to fueling is really, really important for girls, I feel like, anyway. As someone who suffered from an eating disorder for many, many years, looking back, I'm like, I wish I knew how to fuel, that somebody taught me how to fuel my body for what I was trying to do. But you just didn't, I mean, that was 20 years ago, you just didn't know stuff back then. So yeah. Any questions until now? Yes.
Any issues with like the heavier protein or carb meals like before bedtime?
I usually,
they pretty much burn through it anyway.
yeah, I usually recommend to stop eating, and this is from a sleep perspective. If you're eating a huge meal right before bed, it affects your ability to get into deep sleep, because your brain and your body thinks I need to digest, which it does, and so you're not able to rest as easily. So for kids who you know they're hungry every hour, probably an hour before bed is good to stop. If it's a kid who gets full and feels full for a while, I'd tell them about 2 hours before bed to stop. Yeah, and composition as far as carbs, protein, if they are trying to lean out a little, I would tell them, you know, maybe your better fueling option is something that's more protein based. So before bed, maybe the Greek yogurt or some cottage cheese or something like that is a better option than, you know, the bag of popcorn that you normally eat or something like that. So yeah, so it really depends. But if it's, I mean, you probably could eat every 45 minutes and it not affect you much. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Good question. Anything else on that? Yeah.
What about some of us that have lactate problems?
Oh, lactose intolerance?
Yeah.
So do you do like soy milks, or do you do lactate pill? Lactate milk?
Yeah.
Which is perfect. That's great because it has the lactase, the lactase enzyme, or you would know. What am I thinking? Lactase enzyme.
Yes.
Yes. It has the lactase enzyme in it to help you digest. Can you do Greek yogurts? Because some people who are lactose intolerant can tolerate yogurt just because of the probiotics that are in it. If you can't,
It depends. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
okay. So there's like soy yogurts, there's coconut milk yogurts, there's all kinds of different types of yogurts that you could give a try to, if that's something you want. If you're like, you know what, I just really don't want any dairy stuff, that's fine. That's cool too. You know, then maybe peanut butter is more of your best friend than the dairy stuff. So yeah, but make sure you're getting some sort of calcium source. You know, I don't know if that would be a calcium supplement that you take or whatever, but your bones won't stop hardening and developing and stuff till about age 30, so you got a long time yet. So, you know, making sure you're getting some calcium is important. Good question. Anybody celiac, gluten, any of that kind of stuff? Any of the yes. Peanut allergies?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is great news.
I may need to pick your brain at some point as to alternatives for a lot of the snacks, because having been that healthy eater or fueler
Yeah.
for so long, my kids
They're
hate
over it.
everything that
Yeah.
eat your peanut butter, eat your apples, eat your oatmeal, and they're like, we hate oatmeal, we hate peanut. Who hates peanut butter?
You're that tired of it, Chef?
I like oatmeal.
You like oatmeal? He's like, I'll pick oatmeal.
Over here. I'm confused. I'm struggling. Like, I
Okay.
never thought I would have to eat.
Picky, good
Eaters.
fuel. Yeah.
And I'm not a short order
Huh.
cook.
Right.
Never have been.
Huh.
So I'm at a loss as to, okay, I can't get a whole lot of nuts in them. My family has pecan trees. Yeah. So
Okay.
one likes celery, one doesn't. It's just I can't. I'm at a
Yeah.
total loss.
So it takes 20 times to try something before you find a way that you like it. That's the rule in my house. So they have to keep trying it. They think they have they're keeping count of stuff, and I know they're not. So we're just gonna keep trying it. But it really does, and I've seen it happen with athletes where they will try it and they're like, oh, all right, Miss Allison, I'll try it again. And they will keep trying it, and they eventually do start. Maybe you don't like steamed broccoli. Maybe you like it roasted with garlic and oil and vinegar and salt and pepper. Maybe you like it raw. Maybe you like it on the grill. You know what I mean? But gotta keep trying. Like, and I wish I had a better way to make it like easier. But you really just gotta try it. Just gotta keep trying it.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
Just keep on.
Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. And it's hard. Like, your taste will change as you get older, but yeah, I mean, I have tons of Latin players that have never eaten vegetables before because it's just not that readily available in in Colombia or Venezuela or the Dominican Republic, and to get them to try it is like, I mean, it's exhausting, but we are all the time, you gotta try it this way, and some of them, like, I have one that he'll eat a salad, you can't see it under the ranch, but I'm like, we won the salad war because you have lettuce on your plate, and it's not iceberg lettuce, it's romaine. You know what I mean? And so it's just, we gotta find a way, and he was so proud of it. I was proud of it because it just was green and there was more than just brown and white on his plate. But it's just those small victories that you just gotta keep working.
I would put peanut butter in the oatmeal.
There you go. Whatever you gotta do. If you don't like peanut butter, try cashew butter, try almond butter, try natural peanut butter, try all of it.
I've been through the gamut, like.
Chef, suck it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've literally had that conversation with many, many kids before. Like, just comes a point, what is your goal? Because there's only so much other people can do for you, really. It's the same, I mean, if you're working out, I know you give 110% effort every stinking rep. There's never been a question of how hard you work. Why would that be different with food? Bigger and stronger and faster and grow? Just saying. Right? So, let's talk a little bit about sleep. So, sleep is obviously the gold standard of recovery. It really, really is. And so, super helpful for injury recovery. When you're sleeping, you build memories, your muscles recover, you're in a complete state of relaxation. Kids their age, high school, middle school, need about that 8 to 10 hours. Naps can count. So we did this, it was really fun. So you have a sleep need. Everybody's got a sleep need. You got to kind of find your own. So for you guys, let's just say it's between 8 to 10 hours. And so what we did was you can calculate your sleep debt. So say you have, your sleep need is, let's just say it's 9 hours a night. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's 5 days. So how many hours is that? 45 hours, right, of sleep that we need to focus on. So let's say Monday you get 9. Tuesday you get 7. Then we got 2 hours sleep debt. Wednesday we get 4. We had a big test. So now we have a 7 hour, is that 7? Yeah, 7 hour sleep debt. Thursday you got 10. Now you have a 6 hour sleep debt. So the biggest goal is to keep your sleep debt as small as possible. And so with that, if you can be really consistent most nights of the week, say you're someone who's super anxious the night before, like a really hard game or a really tough match, or afraid they're not going to sleep. I'm afraid I'm going to sleep through my alarm and I'm not going to get up, and so they can't sleep that good. If their sleep debt is minimized throughout the week, the amount of sleep they get that night before that big competition is not going to matter as much. So if they only get 4 hours on that night, they will be fine if they only had like a 2-3 hour sleep debt the rest of the week. You don't feel great, but you're not going to be waking up feeling like an absolute zombie who can't do anything. So with that, everybody's sleep cycle is between 90 to 110 minutes. So one of the things, last year at Tennessee, we did some sleep coaching. And so we had 35 guys that were hooked up to this like sleep sensor system, and so I was able to track, their sleep and that sort of thing. And one of the things we did was we focused on napping, and so I would tell them 20 minutes or less, or a full 90-minute sleep cycle. And so the reason we really focused on that is because anytime we traveled, if we were going to Mississippi State or Alabama or Florida, all of our hotels were at least an hour drive from the stadium. And I would notice it was like they were in such a funk getting off the bus, and they'd get to the locker room and they're just like walking zombies. And I'm like, okay. So then I realized they call it the sleep hangover. So if you don't get that full sleep cycle, if you're like if you slept for 45 minutes or an hour, you're gonna have that sleep hangover and feel a little bit sleep drunk when you wake up, because you were in a deep state of sleep and waking up when you shouldn't have been woken up. And so I would text them all. We had this big giant team text, and I'd say 20 minutes or less, or not at all, because the bus ride was not in 90 minutes. So I'm like 20 minutes or less, or not at all. And they did follow that, because that 20 minutes, you're in that stage 1 of sleep, which is that very light sleep. So if you ever fall asleep in class and you do this, that's stage 1. That's easily awakened, and you can get a good nap, but not get too deep into that sleep to where then you've undone what you could do. Or if you ever take a nap on Sunday and you sleep for like 4 hours and you feel worse when you wake up, 4 hours is not, it's in the middle of a sleep cycle. 3 hours, 4.5, fine. Not 4, not 2. So you really got to kind of find what that looks like. And just being really consistent when you go to bed every night, as best as you can. Knowing weekends are going to be thrown off, we get that. But as far as growing and stuff, it's huge. I wish kids would understand how important sleep is for growth. That's when you release that HGH and that, the growth hormone and the testosterone. That's when you're building the muscle and everything's kind of coming back together during that time of sleep. And so that would be one of the main things, as far as besides getting, nutrient dense foods and really focusing on fueling, is how well are they sleeping. Get those cell phones away from them at night. And I would ask the students in my class at Catholic this too. I'm like, how many of you guys, if you hear your phone buzz by your head and you're almost asleep, will go and take a look at it? Every single one of them. I'm like, can't do it. If you are almost asleep and that phone buzzes, you just lost it, because now you're up for another 30 minutes. So those are just some really, really important things as far as sleep goes. But injury recovery, the growth hormone, testosterone, muscle build, all that stuff is super, super important. So, and yeah, naps count. If you get home and you take a 20-minute nap, add that, take that away from your sleep debt. So now instead of 4 hours, you have 3 hours and 40 minutes of sleep debt. You can take away at that throughout the course of the week. Don't nap after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because then you're not going to want to go to bed at night. And I have a lot of students that would do that. They're like, oh, I get home at 4 o'clock and I sleep till 8. I'm like, that's not smart. That's a really bad choice. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, then I can't get back to bed till 1. I'm like, it's probably not a good idea. So don't do that.
Mine's a late bloomer on puberty. He still has not hit that yet, so this still.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. That's sleep for sure. Yeah, I kind of put the fear in God in mind that if they don't sleep, they don't grow. So.
I have a question for a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Child is ADD.
Yep.
Do you have any reliable sources for information on sleep and ADD in adolescence? Because I had a really interesting dental appointment where he asked me how I slept, and we had this whole conversation on the importance of sleep, which I truly believe in. And he Rick, he said, he was talking about how so many kids are on ADD medication that don't really need to be. It's really a sleep deficiency.
Oh, I
And it's not
totally
being
believe
caught.
that.
Do you?
I haven't
Subscribe
read
to
the research, but I 100% believe it. No question. Yeah, I mean, anytime that mind can rest, it needs to rest. So, but yeah, I would think that with ADD or ADHD, that if they're not sleeping well, they're probably getting frustrated in school because they're not able to focus because they're so tired, which makes them antsy, which makes them irritable. You know what I mean? It's just this chronic cycle. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't read any research, but it would not surprise me if that was a big problem. And just like food dyes, and some people say, well, that doesn't really affect my kid or whatever. Maybe not, but eliminate it anyway. Just see.
We had a conversation about it, the mom and I did, and I thought I would ask you.
Yeah, for
Thank you.
sure.
Thank
For
you.
sure. Yeah. No problem.
What about caffeine?
Ooh, caffeine. Like, is it good? Is it bad?
Just in general, like timing,
Yeah.
we all kind of need it too.
Yeah, totally.
But like, especially when an athletic situation, is it better to avoid it for the day, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Well,
I think so coffee is going to be your most natural source. And so there's nothing against coffee. When it comes to energy drinks and stuff like that, absolutely not, never, no. I don't care if you're 40 years old or if you're a growing teenager. Absolutely not. No place for it. There's been some research. I read some recent research on just even one energy drink consumed by a teen can alter their blood pressure. And so you guys are too young to have blood pressure issues, so let's not even make it an issue. Coffee. Just stick with, and if you don't like it, then I just, there's a lot of things that are negotiable for me. To me, that's a non-negotiable. My kids, they see a Red Bull at the convenience store and they're like, doesn't that stuff kill you? I'm like, yes, it does. So the 5-hour energy, they're like, doesn't that, and I will say it as loud as I can in front of whoever's behind me in line. I'm like, yes, that stuff will make your heart explode. Do y'all hear that? I just, oh my gosh, I cannot. There's been too many kids that have died from them, plain and simple. It happens every year during football training camp for high schools, for football, 2 days. Every single year, a kid dies from energy drink consumption. They don't hydrate well, and then they drink 2 energy drinks before they go on the field, and they go into cardiac arrest. It's devastating. It really is. So, yeah.
What about tea?
Tea is fine. Yeah, tea is natural as well. But yeah, you can do the coffee. Caffeine does have a performance benefit. It does. So if that's something that they really want to try or whatever, I don't necessarily love it for kids their age. They're just not. You still got to grow. Let's finish growing first, and then. But a lot of elite endurance athletes and stuff will dabble in that. Well, we're not elite endurance athletes. We're still trying to get through middle school, high school, that sort of thing. So, but if that's something that you've done for so long, and that's what you're used to, then, just be smart about it. Just don't make it an energy drink. One of the things that we do use, and I don't call it, I hate the word pre-workout. That word also just grinds my gears. But it's called Beet Elite, and it's a nitric oxide. It's made from beets, so it's a food source. And you drink it about 30 to 45 minutes before your workout or your competition, and it helps increase blood vessel dilation. We used to do it for swimmers. Did it? Our track athletes at UT did it. I think some of the soccer girls did it too and really liked it. Men's basketball did it. They hated it, but they did it. But yeah, I use it for my workouts. I love it because it's food. It's a food source of natural pre-workout. And so basically the premise is, from an athletic standpoint, say you're doing whatever, workout drills, and it's some sort of sprint, and you have 45 seconds rest in between. You might feel your heart rate might drop maybe at 30 seconds when usually it's 40 seconds it might take you. So you just naturally, I'll never forget one of the football players at Catholic took it, and he looks at me, he goes, I just ran that whole field. I feel nice. And I was like, okay. He goes, so then that became the thing. Like, that stuff's nice. I'm like, I'll take nice. Nice is a good word. It's better than C4. So, and caffeine. So yeah, so you can do stuff like that. Which again, like I said, it's like equivalent to like 6 beets when the powder. It does not taste good, but you just sometimes you just do it because you got it right. We got to get better. So. And with caffeine too, like if you're someone who's trying to gain weight, it's going to increase your metabolism a little bit, and you're like, okay, now I'm consuming caffeine, so that means I got to eat more calories because I'm actually burning more. Because so you know, it becomes this whole nother job. What else? Any other questions? I feel like I just
How
pile on so much.
about changing, I guess, their taste or palates? Back when he was younger, when we weren't doing 90 miles a minute,
Yeah.
it was easy to fuel with good foods. Now it's like microwave mac and cheese, Wendy's, and his taste buds his palate has changed.
Yeah, it's
Any
adapted to
hints,
that.
ideas on how to change that back?
Just like I was saying, they have to want to, really. If it's not an allergy or some sort of, you know, intolerance or something like that, they just have to want to. And we can't change the want to. So, but yeah, it's the whole, yeah, go ahead.
So we had this bizarro thing that happened in our family, and we ended up finding the Whole 30
Uh-huh.
diet. And my one daughter eats nothing but sugar for her entire life. There's candy wrappers everywhere. I can't stop her from eating that kind of stuff. She did Whole 30 for a week, which you probably don't know about. I've never heard of it, but it's meat and vegetables. No carbs, no sugar, nothing. And she did that for a week, and it really did change what she thinks is good food. It doesn't stop her from eating candy, but she eats less candy. And it just changes what she thinks is good.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
a suffer.
It's so
week.
hard. It's literally almost like a detox from some of that stuff. And so, you know, they'll get ornery and, you know, you feel not so great because you're not putting garbage in all the time to like just keep you functioning. You have to find a different level of function, which is more wholesome, but it's really hard to break that bad habit for sure. But don't stop pushing, you know what I mean? Just keep pressing. So, and it's hard because they can, you know, read what Tom Brady's doing and think that's the greatest thing ever, and you're like, can you just please eat broccoli? What if we spelled Tom Brady with broccoli? Would you eat it?
What about like vitamins, just in general?
Never hurts to just
Gummies,
have a, yep. For me, it never hurts just to have a general multivitamin. Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything fancy or super expensive. It can be gummy, it can be just a regular pill, whatever, but yeah. It doesn't hurt. What else? All right. I'm glad you guys came.
Thank you so much.
You guys were the ones that are the winners.